Behind the first door, morning came quietly to the house on the hill. The smell of frost and freshly made pancakes drifted through the air, and the sunlight glittered on the window like dust from stars. Miss Sophie stretches in her warm donut bed, rolled onto her back, and rubbed her tiny nose against her fur. It was the second day of December. On the table, the key still lay on the napkin, but it looked smaller. The edges were thinner, and tiny droplets had gotten around it like pearls on a necklace. Oh no, you're melting. Sophie jumped down and pushing it gently away from the fireplace. Stop that. You have to last until Christmas, she said. Then she blew on it carefully, but the key only glimmered in return, as if it were teasing her. Time moves on, little dog, it seems to whisper. Miss Sophie sat down and reread the crumpled letter. One dog each day, she murmured. But where the first dog supposed to be? I looked everywhere. As if the house has been listening, there came a faint creak somewhere in the hallway, right beside the old staircase. Something flickered. A keyhole. She was sure it hadn't been there yesterday. She patted closer, ears perked. The air smelled faintly of pine, star anise, and rice pudding. Her tail twisted. Rising on her hind legs, she fitted the key into the hole. It slid in as though it had been waiting only for her. Click. A line of silver light spread across the wall. Then the door opened, slowly, like a breath being released after a long time. A cool draft slipped out, brushing her fur. It wasn't the kind of cold that bites. It was the kind that tingles, like standing at the edge of something new. Oh dear, she whispered. I hope it's not the cellar. But behind the door, there was no cellar. There was a room filled with stars. Tiny lights floated in the air like glowing snowflakes. And in the middle of the room stood a large red hat, wobbling from side to side as if it had a mind of its own. Oh, flickety sticks, where has my strings gone now? Came a small, impatient voice from underneath the hat. If I lose it again, I never finish before Lucia. Miss Sophie blinked. The hat was talking. She crept closer, tail wagging constantly. Hello, she said softly. The hat froze. Then it lifted, and underneath it appeared a small face framed by two crooked braids and freckles that sparkled like cinnamon on snow. Oh, peppernuts, cried the creature, stumbling back in surprise. A talking dog! You must be dream number 37. You're late. I don't think I'm a dream, said Miss Sophie politely. I'm Miss Sophie. I live here. I think. The little one straightened her hat, brushed some glitter from her dress, and replied, Well, then we are housemates. This is Wilma's old house. I'm Wimsey, the Arctic elf. And before you ask, yes, I live in my hat. It's convenient and surprisingly warm. Miss Sophie tiddled her head. You live in your hat? Of course. Don't you have somewhere cozy to sleep? Miss Sophie chuckled. Yeah, a donut bed. Ah, said Whimsy seriously. The round ones are best for dreams. Very professional choice. For a moment the two looked at each other, one with a wagging tail, the other with a crooked smile, and something about it already felt like friendship. But then Miss Sophie remembered the key. She held it out in her paw. It's melting, look. Whimsy came closer. Aha, then it's true. The guardian of Christmas has chosen you. Chosen me for what? To keep the light alive, of course, said Whimsy, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. But you can't waste time. When the key melts completely, the way will close. All the door will close. Miss Sophie's ears dropped. The letter said each door hides light and shadow. That doesn't sound very Christmassy. Whimsy's eyes softened. Shadows are only light that's forgotten who it is, she said quietly. But some shadows can be tricky. So be careful. This house remembers more than it tells. A shiver ran through Miss Sophie's fur. She turned to the open door again. The stars inside were shimmering like tiny hearts of frost. Should I go in? She asked. You don't have to, said Whimsy. But if you want to understand why you were chosen, you probably should. Miss Sophie took a deep breath. Her reflection shimmered in the silver light. Then she stepped across the threshold. The floor beneath her felt alive, like rippling ice. A faint glow appeared on the wall. A simple shape like a heart. Do you see that? Whispered Whimsy. That's the heart of Christmas. It only shows itself to those who dare to see. Miss Sophie nodded slowly. Then I better learn to see. The stars around them flickered and went out. In their place, small lanterns lit up one by one, revealing a staircase spiraling upward. Are you coming? Called Miss Sophie. Of course, said Whimsy, hurrying after her, though she probably tripped over her own hat and rolled halfway down the stairs, giggling all the way. Miss Sophie laughed so hard her tail drummed against the floor. You're a strange little elf. Strange, said Whimsy, brushing off the snowflakes now clinging to her hat. Thank you. They climbed until they reached a door covered in frost patterns that shimmered like flowing letters. It says something, whispered Miss Sophie. Vincent came closer again and looked and said, when the winner wakes, the stars will follow. She looked at Sophie, eyes wide. Oh dear, that means we are going outside. Outside? In this cold? Yes, said Whimsy, tucking her braids into her hat. If I know the valley of the stars, something's waiting in the snow. And it's not just Christmas cheer. Miss Sophie's ears perked up. Then I suppose the adventure begins now. It began, said Whimsy, the moment you opened the letter. They pushed the door open. A gust of blue wind swept through the hall. carrying snowflakes that shimmered like tiny stars. Outside, the valley glowed faintly beneath the moon. The wind whispered through the ear. Not cold, not cruel, but alive. Miss Sophie looked up, her heart racing. "Wimsey," she said softly, "I think the wind is speaking." "Then listen carefully," said Wimsey. "It always does, right before Christmas. And there, under the white December sky, the first adventure truly begins." Yeah, that was the end of December the 2nd. Come back tomorrow and listen to December the 3rd, the wind over the valley of the stars. Bye and Merry Christmas.